Leave the office. Immediately. That's all the unknown number said. 4 words, flat as ice water, and I swear the music in the conference room dipped right then, like the DJ felt my stomach drop. I was standing under a paper snowflake chandelier someone from HR had hung too low, holding a plastic flute of warm Prosecco, smiling through a conversation about secret Santa candles that smelled like Scandinavian pine. I just laughed at a joke I didn't hear when my phone vibrated again. Once. Short, like a warning cough. Before I get into this, I'm telling it straight, because I need it out of my system. If you've ever trusted your gut and then talked yourself out of it, listen closely. And if you're new here, tap follow, so you don't miss what comes next. Because I learned more in one night than in 5 years of playing nice at this place. We were 3 hours into the Christmas party, the kind where the open bar is supposed to make you forget you're in a beige office with rented poinsettias. Someone had dragged a fake fireplace video to the big screen and looped it. The CFO was red-cheeked and generous with hugs. Our CEO did the rounds with the same compliment for everyone. Couldn't do it without you, as if repeating it enough times would make it true. It smelled like cinnamon, copier toner, and wet wool from coats stacked on a couch that shouldn't have been a coat rack. I flipped my phone, thumb ready to block the caller, when I saw it. Unknown. 2043. The call log above it was clean. No spam streak, no country code. I hit redial, nothing. Straight to silence. No ring, no busy tone, like calling into a void. The screen showed me my own face for half a second, and I looked tired in it, which annoyed me more than the call. You good? Liza from compliance asked, nudging my elbow before I could pocket the phone. Her glitter eyeliner had migrated to the corner of her eye and made her look oddly tearful. Yeah, just weird call. I kept it light. The last thing I needed was to turn into the person telling ghost stories at the bar. She laughed too loudly. Probably Steve. He's been prank calling facilities with urgent snowplow requests. She rolled her eyes toward Steve, who was doing karaoke to a song nobody asked for. People cheered anyway. I smiled, nodded, felt my phone again, hot like it had a fever. I told myself a stranger couldn't know anything about me that mattered. I told myself I could finish my drink, say goodnight, go home, and write it off as a glitch. That's how you stay sane in offices like ours. You make small, reasonable decisions and ignore the prickle at the back of your neck. The prickle didn't care about my plan. At 2051, the building lights did a quick pulse. On, off, on. Too fast to be a power issue. Too neat to be an accident. The DJ looked up at the ceiling like it had insulted his mother. In the corner, the facilities guy, Jorge, quiet, reliable, set down his plate and stepped out toward the hallway with that slow, purposeful walk people use when they don't want attention. I notice because I watch people when I feel unsafe. It's a habit that has saved me twice before. At 2053, the elevator pinged. No one got out. That happens sometimes. The cleaning staff ride up from the basement and tap the wrong floor. Still, the doors stayed open too long, eyes to a dark throat, then slid shut. I checked the time again, even though I knew it. I needed to make the moment real. Come on, have a cookie, someone offered, a tray thrust under my nose. Red and green sugar crystals. Cheerful, harmless, almost insulting. I took one to be polite and placed it on a napkin I never picked up again. The unknown number texted at 2055. No name, no avatar, just, if your phone shows this, step away from the windows. Now. There's a difference between fear and compliance, and I found it standing under that stupid snowflake. I moved without announcing it, without drama, like I'd remembered I left something at my desk. Past the bar, past the fake fireplace, past a plastic reindeer whose nose blinked out of rhythm with the music. I slipped into the hallway that leads to the back stairwell, the one we use during fire drills when everyone groans and checks slack even on the landing. The hallway was colder. It always is near the stairwell. The insulation loses interest out there. I could hear the party muffled behind me. Bells, bass, laughter, and off-key chorus trying to find the word Wonderland. The office beyond was dark except for the emergency strips that make the carpet look like a runway. Far down, near the glass doors to the terrace, someone had propped a window with a cardboard box. We never prop windows. Security sends emails about that. I stopped at the water cooler like I belonged there and listened. Elevators hummed. Air handlers did their white noise prayer. A voice, male, low, cut through once and died. When you work an open plan long enough, you learn the building's voice. Tonight, it had a rasp it didn't have yesterday. My phone buzzed in my fist. I didn't look at the message first. I looked up at the security camera bubble in the corner and felt ridiculous, like I was a suspect in my own story. Then I opened it. 3rd floor, west stairs, no cameras. Take the stairs down. Do not take the elevator. I don't like being told what to do by people who hide their names, but I like elevators less when someone tells me not to use them. I cracked the stairwell door. It breathed metal and dust. My breath fogged a little, which meant the door seals were failing again. Facilities had emailed about that last week. Budget approved for Q1. We were 3 weeks from Q1. "Hey," a voice said behind me, too close. I flinched hard enough to smack my wrist on the door. Liza, huh? She'd followed me, still smiling from a joke I hadn't heard. "You ditching? I'm trying to dodge Steve. If he asks me to sing Last Christmas one more time, I'm going to confess to insider trading just to get arrested." "Bathroom," I lied, because the truth made me sound like the kind of person who forwards chain emails to relatives. She peered past my shoulder into the stairwell, took in the dim bulbs, the painted cinder block. "Hard pass. I'll guard your drink." She squeezed my arm, glitter leaving a comet on my sleeve, and headed back toward the noise, her heels ticking like a metronome. I watched the back of her head for 3 beats longer than necessary. I went down one flight, slow, listening for new sounds that didn't belong to stairs. My phone stayed in my palm, screen black, like it was trying to cool down. On the landing between 5 and 4, someone had scribbled a smiley face into the dust on the radiator cover. It made me angry for no reason I could explain. On 4, the door to IT was propped with a cable spool. A thin white light leaked under it like a secret. I didn't touch it. I didn't even slow. I'm not a hero. I kept moving until I hit 3, west side. The one that opens near the copy room with the crooked sign that's been waiting a year for someone to straighten it. The door's push bar groaned like it needed oil. The corridor was empty. My phone lit again. The number never identified itself. "Stop. Listen. You'll hear it. You can make yourself hear anything if you want to. Wind through vents. Steps that are just pipes cooling. Laughter that isn't laughter." I shut my eyes and let the building talk. There it was, faint and wrong, like a zipper caught on a seam, a clicking irregular behind the wall where the server closet runs. Not loud, not obvious, just there. It made the little hairs on my forearms rise. The copy room light flickered on as if someone had tripped a motion sensor inside. That room doesn't have motion sensors. It has a dead string somebody cut and never repaired. I know because I pull it most mornings. I stood still enough to feel my pulse in my lip. This is the part where I'm supposed to tell you. I turned around and left, like the text said. I didn't. Not because I wanted to be brave, but because leaving felt like admitting I'd spent 5 years in this building without ever once asking who gets to flip the switches and who's just there for the lights. I stepped forward. My shoes were soft on carpet. Every sound felt illegal. At the copy room threshold, I counted to 3 without meaning to. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like artificial berry. The big printer was silent. The little one hissed the way it does when it's trying to sleep. On the table where we dump orphan print jobs, there was a stack of glossy paper that hadn't existed 10 minutes ago. The top page showed a photo of the conference room upstairs, people crowding a buffet. Snowflake chandelier, fake fireplace, Steve's mouth open wide on a note he couldn't hit. But the angle was wrong. It wasn't a phone pic. It was high, like from a ceiling corner. I looked up out of habit. Copy room ceiling, acoustic tile, vent, yellowed sprinkler head, nothing else. My mouth went dry for a second, and I tasted sugar cookie I didn't eat. I didn't touch the stack. I didn't need to. The second page down had a black rectangle where an identification badge should be. Someone had censored it with a marker, careful, boxing out a name I already knew. The third page showed the terrace doors, propped, cardboard box, a gloved hand, half in frame, holding the edge of the glass like it owned the building. Behind me, down the hall, something metallic clinked. I turned too quickly, and my shoulder clipped the doorframe. The sound came again, clearer. Keys. I've heard that sound in 100 offices. It always means the same thing. Someone who belongs where you don't. I stepped back into the copy room long enough to let whoever it was pass without seeing me. My phone buzzed once more in my palm, a single line that felt like it was breathing with me. You have 60 seconds to decide who you trust more, me or the people singing upstairs. I didn't time it. I didn't need 60 seconds. I slipped out of the copy room and moved, not a run, not a sneak, just the steady pace of someone who should be there. Past the server closet with its hum like an anxious animal, past a poster about cybersecurity that suddenly felt like a joke. At the stairwell door, I paused, hand on the bar, and for reasons I couldn't defend to anyone later, I put my phone on silent and slid it into my inside coat pocket, pressed flat against my heartbeat. Then I pushed through, and the door clicked shut behind me like a period at the end of a sentence I hadn't realized I was writing. The stairwell swallowed the music the second the door shut. Concrete steps, gray paint, the faint hum of a ballast somewhere overhead, that's all. My ears rang with the absence of sound. I forced my breath to match my steps, slow and even, though my chest wanted to hammer like I'd sprinted a mile. At the landing between 3 and 2, I stopped. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the stairwell was holding its breath with me. I tilted my head. There it was again, the metallic clink of keys, faint, but closer this time. Someone else was in the stairwell. I crouched instinctively, leaning against the rail so my shadow melted into the concrete. A shape moved above me, shoes polished, the kind executives wear when they pretend they're comfortable standing all night. They didn't hurry. They descended one flight, paused, then turned back up, as if whoever it was couldn't decide where they were going. The jangle of keys stopped. Silence pressed against my ears until it hurt. When I finally heard the door above click open, I counted to 5 before I moved again. At 2, I pushed out into the hallway, blinking at the sudden glow of fluorescent lights. This floor was half dark. It had been relocated months ago, leaving rows of cubicles like abandoned shells. Dust clung to monitors. A forgotten coffee cup sat fossilized with a film of mold. My phone pulsed once against my ribs. No buzz, just light. I pulled it free. Another message. You're not alone on this floor. Don't speak. Don't call out. I shoved it back into my pocket. My throat was dry, begging to clear itself with a cough, but I swallowed it down. Through the deserted cubicles, a soft light flickered, not white, blue, the kind LED screens make when someone's working late. The glow came from the glass-walled conference room. My first thought was relief. Maybe a colleague, maybe just someone wrapping up. My second thought erased the first. Why hadn't they been at the party upstairs? I crept closer, using the cubicle walls as cover. The carpet muffled my steps, but every movement felt broadcast. Loud enough for the whole floor. At 10 feet away, I could see him. A man in a dark jacket, back to me, typing on a laptop he'd plugged into the room's central console. The big screen on the wall filled with scrolling code, lines of text too fast to read. I knew one thing instantly. This wasn't one of us. None of us wrote code. We were an operations office, paper pushers, managers, analysts. Whoever he wasn't here for quarterly reports. The door to the conference room was cracked open just an inch. That's when I noticed the detail that froze me. The man was wearing an access badge. Our badge. Same black lanyard, same plastic sleeve. Except his had no name, no photo, just a blank white card with a magnetic strip. I backed up, slow, careful. My shoulder brushed against a cubicle divider and made it creak. The man's head twitched, just slightly. I ducked, crouching until the carpet fibers grazed my knuckles. My phone lit again. Don't run, don't hide. Wait until he moves. I didn't question it this time. Whoever was texting me knew more than I did. The man packed up fast. Laptop shut, cable yanked, badge tucked inside his jacket. He slipped out of the conference room without a sound. I pressed myself flat against the cubicle wall, heart battering my ribs. His footsteps moved past, steady, deliberate. At the stairwell, the door hissed open, then clicked shut. The silence that followed was worse than his presence. I stood, legs trembling, and stepped into the conference room. The screen was blank now, console unplugged. But on the table sat a printout, heavy paper, sharp edges. Across the top, in bold, internal audit, confidential, and beneath it, my name. A rush of blood roared in my ears. I didn't even touch it. Couldn't. My phone buzzed once more. Urgent this time. They know you're here. Leave the building now. Behind me a sound split the silence. High heels on tile, not random, not wandering, coming straight toward me. The click of heels was precise, steady, like a metronome counting down. I froze in the glass-walled conference room, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I couldn't make my legs move. My reflection in the dark screen looked pale, cornered. The footsteps stopped outside the door. A pause, long enough for me to imagine the handle turning. I held my breath, waiting for it, but instead the heels clicked again, fading, moving, past, down the hall. I exhaled, shaky, and leaned on the table for balance. My hand brushed the audit paper. I couldn't resist anymore. I pulled it toward me, eyes scanning the first page. It wasn't just my name. It was a report. My activity logs, projects I'd touched, even Slack conversations from months ago. All threaded with annotations I didn't write. Non-compliant use of resources, potential insider risk, flag for review. Every highlight made me feel like someone had been shadowing me for months, stripping me bare one note at a time. The blood drained from my face, because it wasn't just scrutiny, it was setup. Whoever compiled this wanted me out, and wanted it documented. I stuffed the pages back onto the table like they'd burned me. My phone buzzed. A new message. She's looking for you. Don't let her see you with that file. I didn't need to ask who she was. The shoes. I backed out of the room, slow, my shoulder brushing glass that felt cold even through my jacket. The hallway stretched both directions, empty. I picked the left, toward the stairwell, heart pounding with every step. Halfway there, I heard voices. Not loud. Murmurs, low and clipped. The kind of tone people use when they don't want the walls to hear. I pressed myself into the shadow of a cubicle and listened. Your audit isn't ready. If he sees it now, we lose leverage. He already suspects. We can't hold it much longer. Then control him. Tonight. Before it spreads. The voices faded into the stairwell, the door shutting behind them with a hollow clang. Control me. Tonight. I pushed away from the cubicle, fighting the urge to bolt. My throat was so dry it hurt to swallow. Upstairs, the party noise drifted faintly through the vents. Laughter, bass, the illusion of safety. I felt like I was already in a different world. I slipped back toward the copier area, hoping for a side exit. The lights overhead buzzed faintly, then flickered, plunging half the hall into shadow. My reflection flashed in the dark glass of an office door. Wide eyes, hair disheveled, a stranger wearing my clothes. Then I saw it. On the carpet, right at the bend toward the stairwell, another printout. Someone had left it there, deliberate, like bait. I crouched, picked it up, hands trembling. This one wasn't an audit. It was an email, thread, internal, addressed to senior leadership. Subject line, termination strategy. Q1 implementation. And in the CC field, My name again? I didn't understand the context. Not fully. But the message was clear enough. I wasn't being warned randomly. I was being hunted. My phone lit in my pocket, the glow searing my nerves. You've got one chance left. Get out before they lock the doors. And as if to prove the message true, a mechanical hum rippled through the floor, the sound of magnetic locks sliding into place. The hum grew louder, deeper, until it felt like the walls themselves were vibrating. Then clunk. Every door on the floor sealed at once. I knew that sound, the building's lockdown system, the one we tested twice a year for emergencies. Except this wasn't a drill. The overhead lights flickered to red. Emergency mode. The air changed too, cooler, thinner, like the ventilation had slowed. I gripped the email printout in my hand so hard it crumpled, locked in. I sprinted to the stairwell, slammed the bar, and nothing. Solid, unmoving. I shoved harder until my shoulder ached, but the magnetic lock held fast. Behind me, a voice rang down the hall. "Check that side!" Sharp, commanding, too close. I darted back into the maze of cubicles, crouching low. The red glow made the carpet look like dried blood. My phone buzzed once, silent, vibrating against my ribs like a heartbeat. I risked a glance. If you want to live, do not trust anyone near you. Shadows moved across the far wall, 2 figures, flashlights cutting across the cubicles. They weren't calling names. They weren't asking if anyone was there. They were searching. I ducked behind a desk, forcing myself to breathe, shallow and quiet. My ears strained for every detail, the clink of keys again, a drawer sliding open, paper rustling, and then one voice, low but distinct. He has the files. We can't let him leave." My stomach dropped so hard it felt like I'd fallen. The printouts, the audits, the emails. Someone planted them for me to find. And now that I had them, I was a liability. I crawled on hands and knees, keeping low, moving toward the back hallway that led to facilities. My palm slid over carpet, dust, a dropped pen that rattled once before I froze, teeth clenched. A flashlight beam swept over the cubicle wall. I flattened myself to the floor, heart slamming so hard I thought they'd hear it. The light lingered, then shifted away. I crawled faster, lungs burning until I reached the copy room. The stack of photos was gone, table cleared, like it had never been there. My phone buzzed again, insistent. "Storage room West End. You'll find a way out." I didn't trust the voice, but I trusted the alternative even less. I sprinted, every step muffled by carpet but loud in my head, praying the noise of my shoes wouldn't give me away. At the West End, the storage door stood slightly ajar. I slipped inside, pulled it shut, and leaned against it, chest heaving. The room smelled of dust and cardboard. Rows of shelves loomed, stacked with binders no one had opened in years. A single bulb hummed overhead, too dim to chase away the shadows. And then I saw it. Against the back wall, half hidden by a stack of boxes, was a maintenance hatch, big enough to crawl through. A faded sticker warned, "Authorized personnel only." I took one step toward it, then froze, because between me and the hatch was someone else. A silhouette, tall, motionless, waiting, and in the silence I heard it. The faint buzz of my phone again from inside my own pocket. The silhouette didn't move at first, just stood there in the half-light of the storage room, as if it had been waiting for me all night. My breath came shallow, each inhale scraping my throat. I tightened my grip on the crumpled audit file, ready to swing it like it mattered. Then slowly, the figure stepped forward. Not security, not one of my co-workers, a woman. Mid-40s maybe, hair tied back, black blazer without a badge. Her eyes caught the dim light, calm, focused, the way a surgeon might look before the first cut. "You shouldn't have seen those files," she said, voice low but razor sharp. I didn't answer. My phone buzzed again in my pocket, but I didn't dare look. She tilted her head, studying me like a specimen. "Do you even know what you were holding? They've been building this case for months. You were the target. Tonight was just the performance." Her words landed heavy. Performance. Target. My skin went cold. "Who are you?" I managed, though my voice sounded smaller than I wanted. "Doesn't matter," she said. "What matters is this. They can't let you leave. You've seen too much, and you have just enough proof to ruin them." She gestured toward the hatch behind her. "That's your only way out. But if you crawl through it now, you'll vanish. They'll erase you. Your name, your projects, every trace. You'll be a ghost with nothing but paper scraps to prove you existed." Her words twisted around me like wire. Vanish, erase, ghost. Exactly what I'd seen in those printouts. My phone buzzed harder this time, screen lighting the inside of my jacket. I glanced down. A new message. "Don't listen to her. She's one of them." My head snapped back up. The woman hadn't moved, but she was smiling now, just slightly. "You think the person texting you is your friend?" she said, as if she'd read the screen herself. "Ask yourself this. How do they know where you are every second? How do they know what you're seeing?" Her words clawed at the back of my brain. I wanted to deny it, to cling to the lifeline the unknown number had thrown me. But she was right. Whoever was guiding me through the building had eyes everywhere. She stepped aside from the hatch, arms folding. "Choice is yours. Stay and face them, or crawl into the dark and disappear." I stood frozen, pulse hammering. Either path felt like a trap. Then my phone lit up again. One line that made my blood boil instead of freeze. "You already know who betrayed you." Use it. I did know. Deep down, I'd known since the first printout. The audit annotations, the staged termination strategy emails, the voices in the stairwell. It was orchestrated, and only people close to me, people I'd trusted, had access to that detail. Liza, her glitter smile, her perfect timing, the way she accidentally followed me toward the stairwell earlier. She hadn't been avoiding Steve. She'd been tracking me. Anger rose sharp, cutting through the fear. I wasn't just a pawn. They wanted me silenced, erased, and if they thought I'd crawl quietly into a maintenance shaft and vanish, they'd picked the wrong target. I straightened, met the woman's gaze. "Tell them," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "If they want me gone, they'll have to do it themselves, in the open." Her smile faded. For the first time, she looked uncertain, and in that hesitation, I made my move. I shoved past the boxes, yanked the hatch open myself, and tossed the crumpled audit inside. Not to run, to hide it, to keep it out of their hands. When I turned back, she was gone, silent as if she'd melted into the walls. The door behind me rattled, keys, voices. They were coming, but I wasn't running anymore. I braced myself, ready to face whoever walked in first. The door banged open so hard it hit the wall. Fluorescent light from the hallway cut across the storage room like a blade. Two silhouettes filled the doorway. Liza in front, glitter eyeliner smudged, and behind her a man in a dark suit with the same blank badge I'd seen earlier. Liza dropped the fake friendliness. Her eyes were flat, calculating. "You made this a lot harder than it had to be," she said. "Hand over the file." I straightened slowly, hands empty. "You mean the file you planted to frame me?" Her jaw twitched. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Then why lock the building?" I asked. "Why send someone with a blank badge to scrub the servers while you kept me busy upstairs?" For a moment she said nothing. The man behind her shifted like he was waiting for a signal. I pulled my phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over the screen. "Here's the thing, Liza. I don't just have the file. I have everything. Every audit, every email, every move you made, and every client contact you're terrified of losing." Her eyes flicked to the phone. "You're bluffing." I smiled. Not the polite smile from the Christmas party, but the one I'd been holding back for 5 years. "Am I?" With one tap, the screen lit up. Not a message. A live feed. 3 small windows. Tokyo, London, Sao Paulo. The faces of the 3 biggest clients in the company staring into their webcams. "They're watching," I said softly. "They've been watching since you locked me in. You didn't cut me off, Liza. You cut yourselves off." Her face went white. Behind her, the man with the badge took a step back, as if distance might save him. I sent them everything, I went on. The audits, the internal emails, the photos from the copy room, the termination strategy. All of it. While you were chasing me around your own building, I was live streaming your mess to the people who pay your salaries. The phone chimed. A new message from one of the clients scrolled across the screen. We're suspending all negotiations effective immediately. We'll be in touch with legal. Liza swore under her breath. The man turned and bolted down the hall. You think you've won something? She spat. You've destroyed your career. I took a step closer, close enough for her to smell the cold dust on my coat. You already tried to destroy it for me. The difference is I documented everything. For a heartbeat, we just stared at each other, the red emergency lights pulsing between us. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Her expression collapsed. Security. Real security this time, not hers, was on its way up. I walked past her, out into the hallway. She didn't try to stop me. She couldn't. On the first floor, the magnetic locks had been disabled. The front doors stood open, letting in cold December air. 2 uniformed officers waited by the reception desk, one speaking into a radio. None of them asked me for ID as I crossed the lobby. Outside, the city was silent under a thin mist, Christmas lights blinking across the street. I paused on the sidewalk, looking back at the glass tower I'd given 5 years of my life to. In one night, it had shrunk into what it really was, just a building. My phone buzzed one last time. The unknown number. You're clear. You did well. I typed back before I could overthink it. Who are you? The reply came instantly. Let's just say someone who's tired of watching them get away with it. Enjoy your freedom. The number went dark. I slipped the phone into my pocket, turned up my collar against the cold, and started walking. Behind me, sirens cut through the night. Ahead, the city opened wide, full of lights that weren't fake fireplaces and snowflake chandeliers. For the first time all evening, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt awake, alive, and done being anyone's pawn.